long ago, it was discovered that certain minerals had a special attractiveness not shared by all of them. Certain stones were found when people began to look about the planet and notice of its treasures and its bounty. And these stones, generally when cracked apart, began to show unusual luster and beauty and color and light. And the early inhabitants of this planet began to notice these things with growing appreciation. At times, caught right within the framework of a wall of rock, there would be seen a layer of brilliant yellowish substance shining beautifully that seemed softer than the rock in which it was encased and trapped. And some began to liberate it. Chipping out pieces, and then from time to time, as one encountered one's fellows on the path, showing this curiosity, sharing in the fascination, the intuitive nature still being very active in those days in the general consciousness of mankind. So they knew they were on to something, these early ones. And the women, out picturing the more creative aspects of humanity, would begin to experiment, sometimes chipping away until they got to the very heart of such a rock, finding a very clear but very beautiful piece of it. This then they might wrap in a bit of leather and wear on their arm, and thus did begin the adornment of the body. Jewelry was then sought after, created. The soul's appreciation of earth's beauty, the very root of prosperity and wealth. Centuries came and went, and many were the mutations that occurred along these lines, and some souls began to think advantageously as to how they could amass great amounts of these minerals, the gold, the silver, and others after the rocks that eventually became gems. And these souls began to take these things into hoarding places in quantities. And very often what occurred was that, in that this was not totally within keeping of the divine plan, their supply would begin to dwindle, at least in that particular area from which they were drawing it. And they began to have a sense of the finiteness of these things. There was only so much, they began to conclude, when in fact they had taken far more than they needed, and so of course the cosmic law of balance began to right itself, and their supply seemed to dwindle. They erroneously concluded that there was only so much. A veil of limitation began to grow in their mental faculties, and with it was also dimmed the light of intuition and of the soul itself. Vision, spiritual vision, began to grow dim, as they then began to see only through physical eyes, and then of course could only see what was in their possession or that of others, and could not use the more natural spiritual side to simply locate more if they needed more. And so the law of supply and demand began to be tampered with. Greed set in, and there began to appear strange distinctions betwixt souls, ending up as the rich and the poor, the haves and the have-nots. But understanding all of this as part of the history of the earth, why, one then can clearly see that one needs only to go to the roots again, to the source, and know that the earth itself is capable of yielding yet more of these treasures, as it yields so abundantly in nature everywhere. One needs to get right again, away from that temporary and false veil that says only so much, more of mine, less of yours, and begins to recognize the truth of the matter, that there is plenty, really. Plenty to go around, and this is a seed thought for wealth. Plenty to go around. The supply is rather endless, really, in that any supply proceedeth out of thought. And if one thinks supply, well then obviously it is. So plenty to go around then becomes the new banner of the awakening soul, the liberated one, no longer content to work in dark coal mines of labor, where only a pittance is gained, barely enough to sustain life that one might work yet another day. One begins to think, oh no, plenty, there's plenty to go around. Why, my mind is now fixed on it. It's all I can see, there's plenty to go around. And in that there is plenty, well then where is my righteous share? For such is my legacy. I am forever alive. I am a soul who hath chosen to be in this body, experiencing all that the earth has got to show me, and I certainly know that there's plenty of supply here to keep me happily sustained throughout the duration of my incarnation. Why, it was so obvious to me from the spirit world. How is it I have forgotten it now? But lo, I awaken. The dawning sun is one of prosperity. This is what gets stronger and stronger as the night of limits quickly recedes. More wonderful yet is the ease with which this comes to me, for as the light grows stronger, it becomes more obvious. Gold pebbles all about, why opportunity is at every turn. And I rise, and I rise, and I rise again above the smoke of earthly cities, where toil keeps people as so many workers in a camp, not free to leave. And I, high upon the mountain overlooking that city, look down upon it with great compassion in my heart, but also great gratitude that I have been liberated out of that dark dream, never again to descend, save to help, if that is possible, but free at last into the clear air of the world of plenty. Behold the sky, where is its end? Plenty, the world of plenty. This is my new home, and I love it. I embrace it as one taketh in one's lover. Plenty, there's plenty to go round. And now I simply happily trot along in the path of my own opulence, happy to see all that I've got to see, happy to do all that I am now free to do. I come to a place where waters are cascading, as the mighty Niagara Falls, and I see therein in that water plenty. Behold nature's bounty. Where is the lack here? Shall any die of thirst? Great volumes of water, cascading as they've done for centuries. Where is the lack? Plenty, I say. And in my mind's eye I see the wealth of the earth as the mighty Niagara. And I see it endless, really, as the earth is constantly producing more and more. I begin to see through the illusion. I begin to see that it isn't a matter of running out, it's a matter of mismanagement. And that now I join the host of those who, with our thoughts and belief, by thinking endless supply and plenty, begin to, in fact, produce that effect on the earth. And we do offset the mean and greedy thoughts that say, not enough, and so they create those very conditions for themselves and even for others. This is the true ecology, then, to think plenty and obviously to act accordingly, by not wasting, but by acknowledging the endless supply, the supply that is free to all, for all. There's plenty. If I can but focus and fix mine own thought and sight on this thing, as I am now doing, I tell you, it brings that Niagara unto me wherever I am. There'll not be a thing that I need or want for, but that it isn't supplied. Such is my thought, and such is my creation. Free now to share in the divine dream, which always is unlimited, eternal, and plenty. Hold in my thought then on this bright light of plenty. My whole room is illuminated, the room of my life. And I begin to see how I must needs change my life so it's a lot more comfortable for me, and I can have that plenty in as many ways as I choose it. I float comfortably on a mattress of security down the river of plenty, which leads into the cosmic ocean of prosperity and wealth. Focused I am, and focused I remain in the ocean of wealth, full and free, happy, with all things going my way, and plenty of everything constantly for everyone. This then is my creation, this my contribution to a world that is awakening now, out of the dark ages of want and into the wonderful new light of plenty, the land of plenty, the cornucopia of life, all things coming in great measure. Far more comfortable are these clothes, for my soul is expansive and vast. Free at last, free at last, free at last and permanently. I live in the land of plenty. Heaven on earth, heaven on earth, as it was in the beginning, is now, and never shall be, worlds without end. Amen.